Army Staff Sergeant Christian Hughes went to Christian High School in Vacaville, and he was among the wounded in an attack on October 2nd, 2009, in Afghanistan by an Afghan policeman who turned his weapon on the U.S. Army soldiers who had been training him, killing 2 and wounding 3 others, including Staff Sergeant Christian Hughes. So Hughes is out of the Army. He's home, and on a couple of Monday mornings ago, he and his family were once again reminded, a phone call from another fellow who had been wounded in the same attack, saying, "You're never going to believe this. CNN is interviewing the shooter, 3 years later." Hughes says, "I never thought I would see this guy again. Now I'm looking at the TV, and I'm looking at the man who tried to murder me. It's unbelievable." In the video, a gunman, described as the 30-year-old father of 2, had his face wrapped to hide his identity, but the way he spoke and other features, apparently, Christian Hughes says that's the guy. And this guy admitted the shooting on that day. He said, quote, "The Americans went inside a nearby school for a break. They took off their body armor and put their weapons down. I thought it was the right time, and I shot them." Holding up his police uniform, the CNN interview, the Afghani said he fled the scene after the ambush and ended up in the hands of the Taliban, where he was welcomed like a hero, as he put it, after he told them what he'd done. Then he took refuge in Iran. And now he's back in Afghanistan because he says, "The Americans are going away. I've come back to shoot some more." Hughes was hit several times from AK-47 fired at point-blank range. It's a miracle he survived. So 3 years later, he resurfaces in Afghanistan, and CNN gives him a stage to talk about killing Americans. The man went on to say that he expects many more Americans to die, many more incidents. He says, "I know they, the meaning the shootings, will increase. I know more people will do what I did." That's what we're facing in Afghanistan. In Obama's Afghanistan, 70% of the casualties in the Afghan war, 70%, have occurred in the last 3.5 years. Now, one of those killed was the son of Greg Buckley, who has several other sons. And Greg Buckley was also interviewed about the death. His son wasn't wounded, he was killed, and you'll hear how. By the very people he was training, by our allies, by the Obama plan in Afghanistan. In a phone conversation with his son, they were able to communicate pretty frequently. Greg Buckley describes one of these phone conversations and what his son said.
He was upset, and, he just said, "Dad, I just want to come home." He goes, "These people don't love us, they don't care about us, they're cold, they're vicious people." But then out of nowhere, he turned around and he said, "But the children, the kids are so great," but he says after they turn a certain age, they're just vicious people through and through. And me and my fellow Marines, we all want to just leave here. They don't want us here, and if I don't leave here soon, you have to be able to tell Mom and Justin and Shane that I'm not going to be coming home. Because if I don't leave soon, they're going to murder me here.
If I don't leave soon, they're going to murder me here. And that's what happened. Here's Greg Buckley on what happened.
How can I sit here and just let this happen over and over and over again for these young men that are going over there thinking they're doing the right thing and just being executed? My son was executed. He was in a gymnasium with a pair of shorts on and a tank top, lifting weight. And this man walked in, 25 years old. After they said he was 15, he wasn't. He was 25 or in his mid-20s. Walked into the gym, walked over to my son, 165-pound boy, a Marine, who just turned 21, and put an AK-47 right to his chest, 5 feet away, and pulled the trigger, and then shot him again while his other officers watched. And they called me, and they told me exactly what happened. I still haven't had a report yet from the Marine Corps, probably because I know the truth. Now there's justice, they say. But how about all these young men that are out there serving the country? They're being murdered, and nothing's being done about it.
In this instance, by the way, he was in the gym. The Marines were not allowed to carry their weapons with them. They were in a Marine base. They were on base when this happened. But they're not allowed to carry weapons because the base is in Afghanistan. These are the rules set down by Obama. Our Marines cannot be armed on their own Marine base, but the Afghani soldiers and policemen who are being trained can carry their weapons. Barack Obama has blood on his hands. He has set the rules of engagement to the point where it is inevitable that our allies will continue to slaughter our Marines without our Marines having a defense. No one has ever asked Barack Obama about this. But somebody ought to, somewhere, somehow. Here's the Examiner.com. 3 JBLM soldiers, this is the alliance here, killed in green on blue attack in Afghanistan. They even have a name for this now. Green on blue. Blue being the United Nations, I guess. So let's just take a second here. This is JBLM is Joint Base Lewis McChord. Okay. Joint base meaning the Afghans are on base, armed. Americans are on base, not armed. In Zabul province, Afghanistan. Gunned down on their own base this last weekend were Sergeant Soetoro Nena, 25, of Honolulu. PFC Gennaro Bedoy, 20, of Amarillo, Texas. PFC John Townsend of Claremore, Oklahoma. And Specialist Joshua Nelson of Greenville, North Carolina. Nelson was on his first deployment to Afghanistan. He just got there. And I know the economy is important, and I keep saying it's the most important thing, but ladies and gentlemen, Marines dying when they can't defend themselves is not only more important, it's treasonous, it's traitorous, it's impeachable, it's outrageous, and it's got to stop. Where is Cindy Sheehan? Where is the anti-war, anti-Bush people? This is so much more egregious. At least Bush gave our people in the war theater the means to defend themselves. Now, some of you have been in these war theaters. I have not. In Iraq and Afghanistan. Is this the right conclusion? Is this what is actually happening? Because it's so horrific, I hope it isn't true. But I've got the reports in front of me. You just heard the tape of the father. Human Events has this column from John Hayward, Green on Blue attacks and joint field ops with Afghan troops. The 70% of casualties in Afghanistan have occurred on Obama's watch, and the 5 deadliest months of the war fell during 2010 and 2011. Just this year, 51 American soldiers, Marines, American troopers, have died at the hands of our allies, at the hands of the Afghanis we're training to be able to stand up to the Taliban. Except now that we've said we're going to be out on December 31st, 2014, and they know that, and they know the Taliban are going to take over on January 1, 2015, these guys are jumping ship. This is a country where loyalty is, well, how do we put this delicately, minimal and changeable. What are we doing there? What do you think?